pass to individual people.
So one of the questions that came up, and then I'm going to allude to Bonnie on this one and let you, but is there fear when you do that, that I'm gonna lose money and this is not gonna be profitable for me? Because I'm number one, I'm no longer in control, and number two, I've gotta share what I make with somebody else. So I know, Bonnie, you just took on, is that correct? You've just taken on an assistant. You're strictly a buyer's agent, and now you have somebody working with you.
Okay, so I'm the lead buyer specialist, and I have 2 buyer specialists under me, yes. And yes, there was a fear.
Okay, so we know that there is fear that goes with this. So talk about that a little bit.
Well, the leads are no longer just mine. However, we realized we needed them when they weren't getting serviced and they weren't being taken care of the way that they should. And they also have a reputation to uphold as well. So yes, I don't get all of them. However, the girls are taking it and running with it, and they're still bringing that profit to the team and doing a great job with it. So it really works well.
So I think the point that I wanted to make here is that there is that fear of letting go. And I think that's at a type A personality, because most of us that are in real estate, we're control freaks. We want to control our environment. We want to control the people that is around us. And in Linda's case, Linda and Kelly have been a team member for 3 years. And Linda, have you guys contemplated, are we there? I mean, is it time to step out?
We contemplate that often, and I will tell you that our opinion on it changes often. It really does. It's interesting because with my partner being a different demographic, we really see, we get along so great and we have such a great team, but we don't always see things exactly the same way, which is great. I will tell you that this year is really going to be interesting for us because when you start, we tended to have far more listings than buyers. And as we knew, as our business grew, and track that, if you do 2 deals a year, 3 deals a year, track that, so you can make those decisions. But this year, the last 3 weeks has really, made us scratch our heads and say, maybe we're close to being there. It's more buyers than ever. We see the turn in the market. Buyers take so much more time than listings, at least we're finding. And I think it's a whole different skill to be a great buyer's agent. I really do. I'm working more buyers now than I ever have, and you really can evolve. I think buyer's agency it's a special, you really look at it a little bit different. Yes, we think about that, and that changes depending on the needs. We've struggled going there.
Okay.
But not against it, and it's not the fear of sharing the money. I will tell you, I'm not trying to sound like the archangel of real estate, but it's really never about the money with us. It's about the service and the control. It really is. Sorry.
Honesty is good. Honesty is good. Okay, and Susan, let's back you up. Okay, let's back you up from when you left Coldwell Banker and you started in your little house and things were just started happening. So then you knew that things had to change. Explain that a little bit about that process of that change. How did you overcome, I was here and now I have to be here, and now you have another office?
Right. Well, let's even go back a little further.
Okay.
About 3 years in the business is when I decided I needed an additional person. And the same person that's been with me all that time is my senior buyer's agent. She's my only buyer's agent through all of 2012, a little bit into 2011. So I actually scaled down my team last year. Being our biggest year ever, I still scaled it down because I had to get a few things back into control. So year 3, I had 1 buyer's agent. Then my husband joined me, and then year 4 or 5, whatever, I had a couple of people. When I left, I actually had 3 people on my staff plus my office assistant. And I immediately went down to 2 and my office assistant. And so for the last year and a half, I've worked with myself on the listing side, 1 agent on the buy side, and then a licensed agent who's an office assistant. So getting to the model part of it, the reason I had to scale down is I had to figure out what was happening with the market. And as the market was transitioning, the listings were getting more and more and more, and the buyers were thinner and thinner and thinner out there. We all went through that a couple of years ago. So that was a great time to do some analysis on the business. Well, last year, as the buyers got heavier and heavier and heavier, my model is different than some of the people here, because the agents that work at our office are all independent contractors. They don't work for me. One works for me. And that's probably not what most people think, you know, how we do our business. And then you say, most of you are sitting there, will say, how do you sell 41 million worth of real estate? You have one buyer's agent and a licensed assistant, okay?
Does anybody want to know that?
For the most part, I almost have a photographic memory. That helps.
You're not in your 50s yet.
That helps.
That'll change.
I lost that a little bit when I had my little guy, seriously.
There we go.
So that helps a little bit. So I can remember the dates. I can look at that contract and I know whose loan commitment's on this date. I can look at Diane's sheet once and see whose building inspection is here, who's done this, who needs that, who. That helps. You can, and I've gone to all of these sessions on this, you can help your memory. That helps. If you're having any of those kind of issues, go to some of those classes that teaches you how to do that. It will help you balance this business much easier. Now, my husband's the whole other gamut. So twice today, I told him probably where I was going, and probably if I called him right now, he'd think I was at a listing appointment. So he balances out I have to balance myself through this. And so, to the question, how do you actually set a model or a team or an atmosphere? You have to figure out what you do and what you do best. And then you have to fill in the gaps of what you need. And if any of you guys have ever talked to our office assistant, Diane, she will talk to you on the phone forever.
Amen.
And if any of you talk to me, I'm not. I'm to the point, I'm done. Are you sending it to me? Are you not? Are you signing it? Are you not? Okay, get it to me. So that's my personality. So I have to have her to balance my personality. Because she can sit on the phone and talk to that little old lady client for hours. So again, figure out what you do and what you need, where your weaknesses are. My other weakness was that I just gave you full reign. If I gave you 70 leads, I expected you to close a third of those leads, but know where the other ones were, where the other 2/3 were. What were they doing? Where were they going? And I found out that when I started looking and tracking the leads the end of 2011, people were falling through the cracks. And we probably can all say that here too. That's when you need somebody. As soon as you've realized, holy cow, I lost that person that was a buyer or a seller before with me because somebody didn't call them back, or I didn't call them back fast enough, or I didn't get them the information, that's when you need an assistant. Don't do it when you're way too busy to figure out where your weaknesses are, what your structure needs to be. Do it ahead of time. Be proactive in that. Do an assessment of yourself and figure out what you need. Now, taking our model a little bit differently, we also, I don't do any of my own print media. So I have a graphic design staff, and they do all my newspaper ads, my feature sheets, they professional photography, photoshopping photography when needed, downloading of photos, managing the website reports, all of those things. So now I'm taking a whole bunch of that off of my shoulders too, for you guys who are sitting at home for 4 hours designing your just listed cards. You know, all of that is up and off of my shoulders. You gotta pay those people too. So, you know, I pay a graphic designer a pretty heavy dollar amount. In fact, it equals probably 15 houses a year is what he's getting paid to do those kind of things. So just assess what your business is, assess what your model is, and then fill in the gaps.
And I think that's a good point. Linda, just a little bit about where you're at. What types of things do you send out? What do you do as far as your marketing that thing, and what do you pay to have done?
We pretty much do everything ourselves. We've grown, I mean, 3 years, we really don't have we're in a whole different spot in our profession. We're really, I consider us new at this, I really do. 3 years is not is not long, so, and it's a completely different world from our new construction job, but we do everything ourselves. I will tell you one thing we did this summer is hire an intern from Mizzou. She needed an internship. It was absolutely a fantastic experience. We paid her, we didn't have to. We can't imagine having somebody come to work for you and not paying them. But we now can send stuff to her at school and she can help us. She knows our systems, and that has really been a good experience. And she's, you know, she's young and sharp and keen and can do something in 15 minutes that it takes me, you know, 2 hours to do. And so if you want to start small, that's just a suggestion. If you don't have the money for a staff, there's some really talented, creative people that can, in school that can help you out. And that was a great thing for us to do, so.
Perfect. Bonnie? I know yours is a little bit different, but, on your, you know, in your situation, you know, what is it that made you decide to reach out to somebody else? I mean, I know that the team is a big thing for you, but other than that, is there anything that with doing that helped you mentally be a better realtor or a better buyer's agent, or?
Yes, because they are looking to me to lead by example. Really, if they're gonna bring in 2 a month, I should bring in 4 or 6 a month. So I have to be on my game if I expect them to be on their game.
You know, and I think that's a really good point. And Bonnie, I want to also ask this because this was one of the questions that came in is, why do you not want to do everything that everybody else is doing? What makes you want to just be a buyer specialist and not want to tap into everything else?
I love buyers. I love the feeling that I get when we find the home as quick as we do. Sellers are great, but I find fun in the buyers. I think that it flows when you have focus, laser beam focus on one thing, and you get more done if you focus on just that than 50 other things. And it just works. It's working. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Jennifer?
We do compartmentalize, or even though it's my mother, my father, myself, and then we have our buyer specialists, again, we're working more with the buyers. Rich actually is kind of like the graphic designer, from what Susan said. It's not his title, but once Jeannie and I do my own CMAs. I know that some other individuals, they don't do their own CMAs even on teams, that they're kind of handed to them, and that would freak me out because I've got to look at the data and see what it is I'm talking about. So on the listing, Jeannie and I do our own CMAs. We do the presentation, we sign the paperwork, and then we have office staff, because we're with Coldwell Banker Gintiger, who will do that data entry and everything. But at that point, Rich really takes over for that initial step. He does all of the photography. He comes back and he does everything from the download to the Photoshop if necessary, just so that things show great online. And again, when we Photoshop, we're not changing something that shouldn't be changed, but if it is moving a trash can that he missed or something, you know, I mean, he makes sure that the photos look good. So, I mean, we're not altering the house, but we are making sure the lighting is perfect and things like that. So he does that. He gets everything uploaded into the MLS on there. He does things with the website. He does the QR marketing. So everything kind of technology based, you know, postlets and all of those things. So he handles all of that, and that's perfect. Then when the listing's in, of course, that does come back to Jeannie and I as far as our hands-on touch with the client and keeping them updated on market. But we have a lot of automated things too that will keep them updated on web traffic and things like that help.
I'd like to kind of take a break, and I know nobody has kind of turned in any more questions, but I think we've kind of covered everything here's one. Somebody says, about how many text or emails and calls do you get in one day? Let me rephrase that. For an expectation for a business person who is running it like a business, what is the expectation that a realtor should have for incoming information coming via text, email? You know, see if you can kind of wrap your mind around a time. Like, I spend an hour, you know, there's, you know, of either answering emails or whatever.
The entire time in the car, when I'm in the car, I'm on the phone. Bluetooth is the best thing that was ever put together. Those are all follow-up phone calls. I think I have 4,000 minutes used on a minimum monthly basis to up to about 64. So probably 100 phone calls a day, realistically, and probably 60 to 80 text messages a day. Now, I like Jennifer, I manage my whole listing through. Our office clerical doesn't take over except for the paperwork. So, I'm answering the property calls, I'm answering the client's call. I had to answer the other day, which was really fun, because they bring their dog to Investors Title with them when they close. What do they do with their dog? And it was an hour and 45 minutes of options with this lady. My husband thought I was going to just explode, because I'm not an hour and 45-minute phone person. So, yeah, it's a lot.
So, and Linda, what about you? I mean, you're on a different scale.
Oh my gosh, during the week, 40 to 50 phone calls. At the end of the day, I look and I've had 40 to 50 phone calls, 200 plus emails a day. 25% of those are, Pottery Barn or whatever. But I would say 200 to 300 emails a day. I spend a lot of time unsubscribing. But truthfully, or having somebody unsubscribe for me, but you have to watch it, because I think email's starting to be very cumbersome. And I know in our company, I was laughing because they said, "Oh, you're number one," and I was like, number one offender of not getting rid of anything. I want to keep every single one, because I think I'm going to read it someday, which I'm not. So they archive me by the year. But the truth is that I'll do 20 to 30 texts. Maybe my partner Kelly loves to text. She corresponds with most of our consumers or our clients by texting. But 200 plus emails, 40 to 50 phone calls a day usually. Weekends every once in a while, it's a little quiet. Of course, I panic and say, what are we going to do?
Right.
Then Monday you get a reality check. So it is a busy, like I said, business breeds business. I really do believe that.
Bonnie?
A lot of texts daily, every minute. We work with a lot of first-time home buyers, a lot of newlywed buyers. They're all that text generation. That's really all they want to do. Phone calls when there's something that needs to be talked about, because text can be taken differently than what you actually mean it to be. So those important phone calls in the lead generation time, but it's a lot of text. AT&T loves me.
Unlimited is good.
Unlimited.
Unlimited is good. So if you're gonna make an investment in yourself, one of the first things you wanna invest in is lots of minutes and unlimited text. And you gotta have media on your phone. That's just a given, because if you're working, you're on the go. And, those emails and things have to be answered from your, and I sat through a lot of classes where they said you have to have an iPad, and it has to be internet accessible all the time. I disagree with that. I'm just going to say your phone is your lifesaver. So you need to have your phone at least accessible, because there are times when you are places where you have to respond right then. So that's a good point. Jennifer, how about you?
I agree with the things they're saying. My minutes were, I don't check it as much because we're now unlimited with minutes, but I was running about 3,000 minutes on average. So, cell is huge. You're constantly on the go, answering phone calls and follow-up in between appointments. Emails probably about 100 to 120 a day, and text probably about 25 to 30. But it just, I agree, generation, it depends. So certain clients and I've got to the point, especially on listings, that I ask the client, how would you like to be corresponded? Some prefer the phone, an older client's gonna prefer the phone, a younger one's gonna say text me. And so that's another good thing, I think, with your clients is ask them. You can tell them how you would, but I think it's even better if you're okay doing all three, which I think you should be in today's age. Ask them what they prefer. And I do things differently depending upon the consumer.
I want to share a quick story about Jennifer. We were recently at Capitol Conference, and she had a transaction that kind of was unfolding as she was there. And one of the things that transpired was that somebody said that there wasn't something specific on a contract. And due to technology and her phone, she was able to pull that contract up and look and see that that information was actually on that contract and resolve that, what you call that fire, putting that fire out, even though she was in Jeff City at the middle of Capitol Conference and she was still conducting business. So you can see how critical it is that you have to be somewhat technology savvy, and you have to be able to embrace that, because we just don't know where that's going to, you know, what's going to happen at the time that it's going to happen, or where you're going to be. And if you want something done, you just ask a busy person, and they're the persons to get it done. So, you know, for those of you that think that you can't get involved because if you do, you can't work, I think that's quite the contrary. Yes, Jen?
I wouldn't have even remembered that till she said it, but I think that brings a great point as far as your transaction management. And if you have a system, some of them will be through your company, some will be some that you purchase, whether, I don't know, a variety of things. Mine's through my company, but everything transaction management is in essence in the cloud. So that's why I was able to do that. I mean, I had my iPad, I was standing in the state capitol, and I just went and I went to our online transaction management system. I pulled the contract, I found the data that was there, I emailed it off to the person who was inquiring, and it was done.
Don't you remember the people who've been around for a while when you carried all those files? You take this batch of files home with you at night? I've never taken a file out of my office except for closing now, out of anything. Everything's done on my phone, but it seems so, it seems not long ago, but so long ago that you didn't do everything from your phone.
I'd like to open the floor up, and I know for questions, and if you would be specific about if you're directing it to one particular person so that they know who to answer, who is answering. And I'd like to start with Mel. I know you had your hand up, Mel.
Thank you, ladies, for sharing your experience with us. I have a question. Other than your phone, what is your favorite technology, real estate technology product that helps you every day, other than the phone?
Oh, I can answer that. DocuSign.
Yep.
Yeah.
Love it. It is your lifeline. It saves time like you would not believe. DocuSign, if you're going to invest in one thing, and Realtor.com, NAR has a special rate, just go to Realtor.com or Realtor.org, and they have an NAR special rate for you.
Leah, are we going to have a class on that?
We are.
Yeah.
We are. Professional development is establishing a class for that, and we are going to, we'll have that information to you, but I believe it's in September, so that's
April.
Time saver. Yep.
I'll agree with that, and it's so easy for the clients. It's not like it's just easy for us. It's easy for all parties.
How long have you had it? Like, did you get it like right
From
when?
you.
Well, yeah, I think you did too, actually. When Kelly and I were working together, Kelly called and said,
2 months,
okay,
2 or
now
3
how
months
do I
we've been
do
using it
this?
effectively, yeah. There was a dating issue at the time that was a dating.
Yeah, Kelly called me about that.
Jennifer is the salesperson because I had a deal going with her, and she goes, I could send it to him to DocuSign if you don't have DocuSign.
Yeah.
So
It's awesome.
Yeah,
It
it's
does
really
work.
nice.
Okay, so that's definitely, DocuSign is definitely, because it does time, you can date it, time stamp it, and you get a signature. And the beauty of it is it's so easy. And your consumer can use it from their phone. So that's the beauty of it. And
Saves a
so
lot
we
of
want to
money.
use that. Stephanie?
Yeah, I want to thank everybody for coming to the panel too. I wanted to focus more on because it was about riches and niches, or your niche. And I know we have buyers and listing, and you guys do both. But what do you really think was your one niche that got you where you're at? Like some people do investors, whatever. So if they can maybe each kind of tell us what their niche is and how they got there, so we can all, because I think that helps us focus on what we're good at.
And I think we kind of covered that a little bit, only because we were kind of talking
Not
about
really.
what
Does
made
it-
Bonnie
does it- do you guys
decide to be
feel?
a buyer's
No,
agent.
That's a role. You know what I'm saying? I think that's a good start. I think that's a role. But I'm looking at, do you agree, Linda?
I agree.
Yeah,
Okay.
we didn't really get into what their niche
Linda,
is.
go ahead.
Short and sweet, and when we started the business, my partner and I both came out of new home sales where we had over 200 million in new home sales. Everybody assumed our niche was that niche, and it was not, because most of the homes we sold were in the peak. Actually, when the phone rang from a previous customer, we went, oh, because we knew they were 20% upside down.
Right.
That is a niche we are now venturing into because it's more in line, and it's really strong for us right now. But the niche was just taking, letting people know we were in the business.
Okay.
People know, take the people that you know who like you and trust you and will trust you with your business. Whether it's a club or a group, or you're in the Lions Club, or you're in the Elks Club, or you go to a certain church, start with your sphere would be, and letting people know it depends on your personality, like it's a kind of an ego, you feel kind of egotistical to be an agent to let people know, but I spent a year not really letting people know, and let people know you're in the business. Make sure that everything that you do is personally branded to you, and wear your name tag occasionally.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
But that's interesting, because everybody thinks our niche is what our niche wasn't.
Oh,
So-
okay.
So.
I didn't know that. I would assumed it was new construction too.
No, if you know 20 people, let those 20 people know you're in business.
Okay.
Let them tell the people that they know, start with your sphere. That would be my best advice
For your niche.
for our niche, which
Okay.
is, it still tends to be new construction because that was a big part of our life, but it's not in the way that people thought.
So you're just more social, you feel social.
More social,
Okay.
correct.
Okay. Susan, you want to touch on that?
Well, our niche was always more advertising and marketing. I came into
Okay.
this as a marketing specialist versus a salesperson.
Okay.
Back in a time where, really it was more sales driven because you didn't have as much at your fingertips. I mean, I think when I walk into people's houses and I pull out one slide on my iPad that says my mom's a black belt at real estate, everybody goes, oh my God,
Yeah.
that was you.
Yeah.
So create something that's a little bit different than someone else and ride that wave of that marketing. And then, of course, it has to evolve. It's not the same cool thing anymore now that Andrew's 21.
Cool for you, for Andrew.
You will see that come back into play a little bit because he just got his license. So we will roll back time a little bit and start a big marketing campaign on him. But needless to say, that niche, I will tell you that my husband looked over these questions and he said one thing that he wanted to bring to the table to everybody here is don't get too niched in a price.
Yeah, price.
A lot of times people will get really niched. I only do first-time home buyers. I only do million-dollar properties. And that's really good when first-time home buyers are great or million-dollar property sales are great. But everything in the middle can keep you from putting food on the table. So don't get too niched in a price range. Find your niche in another direction.
I came out of the marketing world as well. I was vice president of sales and marketing at the end of my new homes. And I agree, I came into the business and instantly said, nobody markets. Nobody really markets. So I back that 100%. I think we both have a very strong background in that.
I agree with Susan, don't get too niched. Ours is obviously buyers. We have a newlywed buyer program, we do bridal shows, so we're hitting that. We have a luxury division, so we're hitting that, we're getting higher up. And then we have an investor division as well. So we're grabbing all the things that are working right now, pulling that together and kind of being there for whatever they need with the certain people. So,
Perfect.
yeah.
I think for myself, coming back after, again, part of my intro was involved in your association, whether it be local, state, national, and I've actually used that to our advantage for our team. When I go back, when I'm doing my business plan every year, and I'm looking back at the year prior, and I track, where did my business come from? I can relate 6 deals last year, 6 transactions out of 68, so 10% that came from MAR. And what that means is it's the networking and, what I do being active there. I do that because I learn things from it. I believe I bring things back to the local area as well when I'm at the state, whether I bring it to the local association, whether I bring it to my office or my company or things like that. But I enjoy that involvement, but I also interact with those individuals. And again, 10% of my transactions last year were from those state contacts, from Kansas City and from Joplin and from Branson, that type of thing. So I don't know if it's actually a niche, but it's networking. So no matter, kind of like Linda said, networking, whether it's that soccer team or that group or whatever, it's the networking. But really, when you're setting your goals, know where your business is coming from. If you want it to come from somewhere different, then move your focuses there.
Yeah,
Okay.
thanks.
You mentioned marketing quite a bit, how you market your properties. How much video do you use in your marketing lately of your listings? And how do you determine what listings get videos and which ones you don't use?
Jen, you want to start?
We haven't yet. It's something that we probably need to do, but just openly admitting we haven't been using video.
Okay. Bonnie's going, hey boss, do we do that? Stephanie, do you want to answer for Bonnie on that one?
Well, actually, the Bomb is, they actually have access to that, and they're gonna be doing their own introduction videos to buyers as they hit online, instead of just an email. So, yeah, we do that and then, other videos.
I don't know
That's
about
not-
listings, but I'll video myself or a house for a buyer that's not in this state. or, you know, things of that nature. We send it out to all our clients that we're working with as far as what's going on, what they need to know about. So not so much the listings, but I am doing it on the buy side, not at a high level, but.
And like an introduction is our goal for, by the end of the first quarter, is that an introduction video would go out to buyers instead of just your email.
That's
Because more
fun.
people look at that
That's
together,
fun.
so.
Yeah. Susan?
Oh, gosh. I can't even get into all of the places that they're using on social sites with videos and those things. We've got a whole package that's kind of a tiered package of what they're doing.